Hi, and welcome to Stimming and Stilettos with Dr. Tasha. And of course, I bring you the best guests because that's what I do. And today is no different. So today we have Kimberly Clark. Oh my gosh. And so of course, you guys know I stalked LinkedIn and I stalked Kim. and she said yes. And I actually think I saw you somewhere. I don't know what you were what show you were on, or what podcast you were on, or what thing you were doing. I think I saw
Yeah.
a video of you someplace doing something, and I was like, I want her on my show. I don't know where you were, but I think
Um,
I saw a video
might
of
have been
something.
it might have been the Fab for Stems magazine cover. It might have
Oh,
been
that I
that.
think that's what it was. I think that was what it was. And I was no, that was the catalyst, but I saw you on a video before then. I don't know what it was, but I'd seen you on a video before then, and then I saw you on the cover of the magazine, and I was just like, right, I gotta do it. And so, you gotta talk about this, the how you got on the cover of the magazine. But before then, hey.
Well, yes. Thank you so much for having me. I am Kim or Kimberly Lane Clark. It just kind of depends on the day when I say Kim or Kimberly Lane Clark. But I always put the Lane Clark on the end of there. But I am really happy to be here, and thank you so much. And I am just always honored to. I don't know. I always sit and sometimes think like how surreal it is for me to even be in this space, because there's so many other awesome women that have really paved the way. So I'm excited to be here. So thank you.
You're absolutely welcome. I like we were just talking a little bit offline, but I do this because I'm a Black woman in STEM, and I really wanted to give other minority women, or women of color, Black women, an opportunity to tell their stories. I mean, because we don't.
No,
Um,
right.
and so I love it when I can sit and talk to another sister and say, "Hey, I'm rooting for you, and I want
Yes.
to give you a platform so we can get you out into a bigger platform or a bigger audience, so people can know you. I mean, let's do it. Like I get so much joy in seeing you guys. So whenever I can, like I'm about it. So I'm so happy to see you, happy to get to know you, happy to get to talk to you, happy to give you um a platform to tell your story. So that's what I do.
Yes. Well, thank you again. Thank you again. And I'm excited to be here.
All right, to that end, Kim, tell us your STEM story.
Oh my goodness, I've been eager to say this and I guess and speak to this because I think back as how my STEM story started. It's really ever since I've been a little girl, to be honest. And at that time, we really didn't call it STEM per se. We really didn't say what it is, but it's always been STEM. And so I remember just being a little girl, just intrigued with pagers at that time. And so I'm dating myself to all the people that are listening in. And I don't know if any young ladies are listening in that knows what a pager is, but recently my friend sent me a picture. And I guess we were like sitting on the couch. It was the summertime, and I had like this little green pager on one side and a blue pager on the other side. And I said, "Girl, where did you get this picture from?" But I was always intrigued as to how it worked,
Mhm.
how it operated, because I was just like, "How is this even possible?" And, at that time, technology was advancing very rapidly.
Yeah.
And so when I think about my STEM story, it started, just being curious. And that's what, we want young girls to be in this day and age, or anyone, to begin being curious. But then my mom, kind of got a whiff of that and saying, okay, well, you're curious, so let me, invite you to these opportunities. And so I think about like the 4-H club and, the boys and girls clubs, and being able to be involved and putting me in front of mentors. For instance, I always knew I wanted to be a teacher, but kind of in junior high school, I realized that I wanted to, really start in integrating myself with the technology piece of it. And that really wasn't something where there were classes of technology integration or STEM integration. And so I remember taking this ICT class. And this was kind of fast forwarding, getting into college, but taking this ICT class and taking this STEM class when it was really unheard of then. But, I started to just get intertwined with all of these kind of pieces when we're thinking about STEM. And ultimately, I didn't know then, but now I know that it really just kind of sparked my curiosity into what I'm doing right now. And so, fast forward to how I kind of got involved with the STEM world and things like that is, I got a role in the school district in Texas. And so they were the first K through 12 STEM district in the state of Texas. And really the catalyst for a lot of STEM schools. And so this was a phenomenal school, and I still love it to this day. And so we had a STEM team. And so I was one of the blended learning specialists on this team. It was three of us. And we got to build a car with our students,
Yeah.
and a real car, like a car that
Our
was
car.
yes, a car. And we partnered with this organization. It's called a Flying Classroom. It was a guy that was a pilot, an African American guy that was a pilot, and he thought that he really wanted to bring this, type of opportunities to life to other students. And so we got involved with him, and our students first built a car, and then we built a plane. And so this plane actually was meant to fly over Nicaragua, where it was with the Wings of Hope. And these students started with an engine and built it from start to finish. It took them about 8 or 9 months. But my part in all of this role was to bring in the integration of technology, bring in the integration of blended learning within these focuses, within these project-based learning pieces. And so within that, we also, implemented computer science, and that's kind of how I got. And I don't want to say claim to fame or anything like that, but I kind of got it where I was starting to integrate computer science into the classrooms of teachers and just starting to teach about it, because at that time we really were not, I guess at that time, not sure that computer science could be taught to everyone, which we know it can be. But, that was one of kind of the pieces. So that's kind of my STEM story all bunched into one, but it's so many different pieces of to how I met this person and how I networked with this person and how my mom, introduced me at an early age. So it's so many different pieces that I always tell folks that will kind of get you to the path that you're trying to go on.
Yeah. I love that. There's so many pieces to this, right?
Mhm.
So I wanna go back if I can to like when you first so I've got questions about this pager.
I got it.
I don't know why, but like I'm curious because I'm curious about this pager for two reasons. One, I don't know why, but like, was it the one that was like, because there was the clear see-through one.
So you
It was
remember you put the yeah, you remember you put the cases on there? That's the one I had. So that's why I said I had a green one, and I remember I had like a on the picture that my friend sent me. And I was like laying on the couch. It was summertime, and we were all just there. And I had like two pages, just like, girl, look at those pages. So I was just intrigued as to how it worked, but also obviously at the time I wanted a pager too.
yeah.
Um, but it's just was that, but that's the kind of pager it was. The ones that
I
were
don't know
clear.
why. In my mind, I was like, oh, I gotta know. I gotta know what that pager looked like. Because of course everybody had you had that black one, right? And it
Mhm.
like, okay, that was boring, right? But
But
if
then you
you
were
had
doing something if you had the clear one.
I
You know.
mean, you was special if you had the clear one,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah.
Like so anyway, I'm sorry, we were straight up dating ourselves with that moment.
Mhm, mhm. Mhm.
but I had to ask it. But secondly, before our listening audience, before there were cell phones, there were pagers, people, right? There were these things called pagers where you could actually put your number in there and it would
Mhm.
go to another person and that would tell you that someone was trying to contact you, and it
Mhm.
was usually you had to like call them back. You had to go to
Phone.
an actual landline and call that person back, because that meant there was an emergency, right? There was something happening that you had to contact that person.
Mhm.
Okay, that's what a pager was. You was being paged. Somebody was trying to contact you and you needed to get in contact with them. So that was their way of saying, contact me right now. Okay,
Yes, there were special codes that you would put in to know
correct.
whether or not, if it was an emergency or they just wanted to speak with you, and you would go to the payphone and look at your pager and put that number in.
Correct. So before there was cell phones, there were pagers. And so that was pre cell phone stuff. So I can get the fascination. I too was very fascinated by like, how does that work? Like, how are they able to do that?
Mhm,
And like, what are these numbers? And then
mhm.
there was the one where like you could, oh God, what was the game you could play on? Well, that was actually, I think it was
Nokia, right?
yeah,
Snake? It was, I think, what are you playing,
yes,
Snake?
it was
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
oh gosh,
Mhm.
had me riveted for hours, right?
Yes, yes, yes. That one was amazing also. But just the part of the curiosity that I think a lot of kids have, but they might not sure what questions to ask,
Right.
or where to start. Now, there's YouTube, and there's, TikTok, and there's
Right.
Instagram. There's so many places that you can go and get your answers, but we just had the encyclopedia.
Right. And but I mean, and just the and when you think back on how it was moving faster, but not as fast as it is now. Like you can go right to YouTube and somebody's already got the answer up and it's been up for like 2 months, and you're like, wow, I just had this. Okay.
Right. Right.
It didn't move that fast, right? So when we had a question, we couldn't go to a YouTube because YouTube hadn't been invented, right?
Right.
So like it just wasn't what it is today. So um I don't know. You guys are so, I mean, our or this my listening audience is just so don't understand how fast information is moving. It is even moving faster than we are even
Yeah,
thinking.
'cause it changes. It changes. It changes so fast, and that's why it's so important, to stay on top of different, certifications, and just stay on top of different. I mean, I like subscribe to so many different articles and things just because
To
I
stay
would.
up.
Oh, just to stay up on the technology, even though I'm in technology, but I still need to know what's happening because things happen so fast, and
So let me ask another question as a moving forward. And I know I'm going back and forth, but I have so many questions. So as a teacher
Mhm.
and as a compute, going into computers, I have mixed emotions. Okay, so because I'm a teacher also. I'm an engineer, but I'm also a teacher.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm in Georgia. And so Georgia has made it mandatory that computer science be taught in every single grade,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Which I agree with. However, what they have not done a good job of is making it is having enough teachers to actually do the train, or having enough trainers to actually do this training for teachers. And so, how are you going to mandate that it be taught in every single grade when you don't have enough certified teachers in computer science to actually do the training or do the teaching of set? It's like, how is this even going to happen?
Yeah.
So it's like you're mandating something that you haven't prepared for. And this is actually supposed to happen by I think they said, well, it was supposed to be 20. First off, it was supposed to happen during COVID, right? So of course they moved it off.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, well, it was supposed to be, yes, it was supposed to happen during COVID. So then they moved it off to 2024, but then they started doing research and they realized that they didn't have enough certified teachers to even have trainers to do the thing, right? So then they
Mhm.
started, like what do we need to do in order to have enough certified teachers and trainers and so on and so forth. And they realized they weren't going to have enough, right? So then they put it off to like 2025. They're still not going to have enough certified teachers because they don't have the interest from teachers to actually get the certification.
Ah,
You know,
I see.
so I think it's almost, and I think what is happening is that so now it's like you can't keep putting this off because you're by your own standards, own rules, like you're this thing is going to happen. So in my mind I'm like you're battling two things, right? There is a fear from
Yes.
teachers about the 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 sort of computer science in
Mhm.
general. And then there is, so there's that. So you got to overcome this fear that teachers have of computer science. And then once you overcome it, it's like what are the standards and what is the rigorousness of the courses that a teacher would have to take in order to get certified in it, to be able to teach this one course that the teacher or that that the students have to take in every grade.
So, and one thing that, I think we will agree, when I was an educator and just even when I was in central office as well, before I moved into my new role that I'm in now, a lot of the initiatives that I see that we bring, we notice that there's not either enough time, there's not enough, staff, there's not enough resources to bring on these initiatives. And so that's one thing that I was really adamant about, when I was in my role, to make sure that teachers felt comfortable in teaching whatever
Yeah.
it is. And so I think now we're in an age of AI as well. And
Yep.
so what computer science is that this, that, that it's that background that you're needing when we're thinking about, generative AI, computer science is the
Yep.
back piece of it that's running it. And so one thing that, I would just my advice, for educators is, although, they might be afraid of the unknown, which I get, there's something, if I'm a educator that has been teaching, let's just say math to fifth graders for all of my career, and I've been teaching for 25 years, to bring something that is totally new that I'm going to have to possibly get a certification on is very scary.
Yep.
And so one thing that, I recommend is, just taking like for instance, code.org, Google CS First. These are like the basic foundation courses that are free online that you can take just to kind of see what it is and see how it's there. And so, and I understand that you said that what Georgia is doing, do the teachers actually have to be certified, or they just have to teach computer science in general?
I thought what Georgia was doing at first, they were the teachers, they wanted at least a certified teacher in every building to be able to teach, and
Um,
in every grade to be able to teach. No, I don't even know if it was in every grade. They wanted one certified CS teacher in every school to be able
okay.
to teach it, teach the CS course or
I
CS
think
classes.
also some of the initiatives that, like for instance, Texas, I see Texas, they have where they're paying teachers to become certified. They're paying them to either go through the course. Once they get through the course, they give them once, while they're in the course, they give them a stipend. And then once they get out of the course, they provide a stipend as well for them to take the exam. They help them take the exam. That's where teachers feel that they're valued. They feel
Yeah.
that they actually, can move forward, and they have the resources and, the backing of their schools to be able to get that. So hopefully, that there are folks that are being put in place to be able to roll that out. And, as an educator, I always say to be an advocate, an advocate where you're advocating for the needs of what, because ultimately this is for our students. This is for our students to be able to learn, because I am a firm believer, although everyone is not going to be a computer scientist, everyone is not going to be, in a STEM major, they still need to have the understanding of it. They
Yeah,
still need to know.
agreed. I agree with that. I think my I don't even know if I'm going to call it an issue is that I think the way in which it was rolled out, it wasn't I don't know if I want to say it wasn't teacher centric, right? Not to say that it needed to be, but I don't think it was teacher considerate. That's a better term, right? In the sense, like, I get you want, at this point, what one of the things that COVID did was it showed the deficiencies, right? Like, teachers weren't necessarily the best as it related to technology. It showed that kids weren't the best in technology also, right? So we already knew that there was a divide, but COVID showed us that there was what the divide was, right? Okay, but it also gave us an opportunity and said, okay, well, how can we now, with this new knowledge, what can we do to enhance and
Yeah.
fix, in terms of, like, if fix is the word, what we now know is a situation, right? And so instead of it being, this is an opportunity. So I think that Georgia sometimes, and I feel like I can talk about my state. I live here. Um, is that Georgia, instead of looking at things as opportunities, is like always a problem, right? And so it's like, no, this is an opportunity. So, like, let's look at this opportunity as a way in which we can help teachers and teachers and students together. Together, they can, this is a way for us to enhance learning for both. And so I think teachers felt blamed, and students were just like, hey, which way do we go? you know?
And that's why, I always say, be an advocate for your students, be an advocate for it's for the teachers, when we think about the shift in the teacher's mindset, when we think about shifting, your own mindset, it's the way we have this problem that's being presented. We know that, during the pandemic there were technology deficiencies quite throughout. One part, me being actually in, a role where I was the director of blended learning and then also a blended learning specialist. I really wanted to integrate technology in the classroom, but there was always really like a lack of time. And so, during COVID, we know that, obviously technology was a forefront of there. Those deficiencies were right there in front of us at all times. But one thing that I always just tell educators is that's why we can't stay stagnant into our little bubble, our little, piece, our little content area. We have to always try to go out and learn other things, because things like COVID happened.
Yeah.
And what about some of those educators that, and it's not a slight saying that educators are in their bubble, because that's what they know. I get it, because I stay in my STEM bubble. I stayed in that for so long.
Yeah.
But I noticed that I also needed to get into some of the core content. I needed to learn about like the science of reading. I needed to understand that. And so it goes both ways. And so I just think also with us, when we're presenting with these problems, we either take them as, a way that we're going to say, you know what, this is going to be the issue, our students, or can we just put our students in mind and try to figure out a way that we can shed some light on it, but also have that solution as well. Like, what
Right.
is a to it. And you know, a lot of sometimes we can't fix it. Sometimes it you know, it starts maybe in the Department of Ed, but what we can do is, you know, I don't know if you've heard of ed camps before, but they're just like these, yeah. So like these ed camps, like I just think ed camps are just amazing because it's just about what educators want to learn. You're afraid to learn it. You might not know about it, but then hey, let me create this ed camp, and then and you know, ed camps are older, you know, but it's so many different ways that you can just kind of spin up these ideas to learn about together. Let's just kind of, you know, take this and really just take an effort for everyone and just kind of the word that I'm looking for is lost in my mind. But you know, where people are just seeding content everywhere and people are
Yeah.
just kind of
I love,
grassroots that.
I love that. So, okay, another question for you
Yeah.
is, well, this is kind of a switch. So, like, I really want to talk about, like, so you moved from from the classroom to, well, you moved from sort of schools to doing sort of consultant work in a sense, but so like, what are you doing now?
Yeah, yeah. So that's something that is in actually my educator elevation guide. I call it like a guide because it's something really easy to read, but people always ask me that question. And I'm always like, okay, well, this is what you do, or this is how I did it. And so I taught for in the classroom, I taught STEM technology classes for about 11 years. And so I taught everything from like business education, arts and animation, STEM, any type of like internet computing classes, anything and all of things of the above. And so when I was doing that, I also realized that I started, you know, just kind of going around to classes and helping teachers if they were having issues with their, maybe let's just say their projector, or they're like, you know what, I really want to implement blogs. Let's just say kid blog was big then. And so I want to integrate blogging into the classroom. And I started just really helping teachers. And I realized that that was like something that I really love to do. Like I really love integrating and helping teachers integrate technology into the classroom. So I started seeking out, you know, roles where I was either a coach, technology coach, coordinator, things like that. And so I got into a role where I was a campus technology coordinator. Then I moved to blended learning specialist throughout the years. And so I stopped teaching altogether and went to kind of central office. And then I moved to a director of blended learning. So within all of those, you know, I what my mind was going through is how can I get to where I'm able, because I was seeing some of the things that you're saying, like the issues, or not issues, but you know, things that have arisen that are not like, there's so many initiatives that teachers have, but then where's the training that goes into this? Like, who is that person making these decisions? So I was seeing this and I was like, okay, I got to get to where this person is so I can assist with this piece. And so that's how it became that. But then during the pandemic, and I always tell people this, and I don't know how crazy it sounds, but this is my truth. And I always believe in telling my truth. I said to myself, you know, I'm really like smarter than what I thought I was. Like I didn't know that then. And I know this sounds like, you know, weird, but I'm
No,
like, okay,
doesn't. It's
I,
true.
like I'm really, and it doesn't mean that, you know what, but just what I was doing, I realized that I could take this of what I'm doing. I was able to take a entire school district online in 3 weeks, you know, in March 2020, and I had no idea, no one knew what to do. And so to be able to take that and create an entire curriculum online and all these pieces and lead this, I wanted to be able to take that globally. And so reach students globally, reach educators globally. And so now I'm the educator advocacy lead. And so for a tech company. And so all of this is what I get to work on a day-to-day basis, and I get to work on and be that advocacy for an educator, the advocate for educators for some of the software that's being used by millions of teachers and students and, you know, staff all over the world. but it took time to get to those places. That was it was years 16, 17 to get to those places. But I think one thing that if I could kind of go back is if I knew how to network and shift my mindset per se early on. I don't think it would have taken me so long, but then again, I believe that every step you take is purpose in your life. So, I kind of go back on that, maybe it happened the way it was supposed to. Oh, I think you're on mute.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think everything happens the way that it's
Hmm.
supposed to happen and when it's supposed to happen.
Hmm.
It happened when you were ready.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you
Yeah.
were absolutely ready to take that step. That's when it showed up. That's when you were absolutely ready. You're like, you know what? This has appeared. I'm
Yes.
ready to walk through the door. I'm ready to walk out of this door. I'm ready to walk into this new reality. So that's when it happened.
And one thing I will say during the pandemic, I don't know. You're right. And like I say, I toy with it all the time. I'm like, if I had known this, if I had known this. But like you're saying, where I am is where I'm supposed to be in it and how it played out. Because during the pandemic, I don't know if I would have been, I guess, have enough courage to take the necessary steps like I did during the pandemic.
Yeah.
If the pandemic never happened.
Yeah, I look back on where I was during the pandemic. So I was saying to a girlfriend of mine, like I actually had two roles,
Mhm.
two roles that I feel like were married to together to married to each other. And I look back on both of those roles. I'm not in either one of them right now. But I
Mhm.
look back on those roles and I was like, those were the perfect roles for that time.
Yeah.
And I was the woman for the job then.
And
And I was like, I look back on them and I was like, there was nobody else that could do what I did
mhm.
then, right? I was the perfect person for the role, right? I was in place, um, and there was nobody else that was going to carry us through.
Mm.
But when it was time to go, 2023 hit, and I was like, yeah, I'm done here. I mean, there's like I took us through the pandemic, I took us out of the pandemic, I set us up for us to be. I actually trained my replacement, and I was literally, I went to my boss and I was just like, hey, I'm resigning at the end of the year. And he didn't believe me. He thought I was like, no, 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 I'm serious. I'm like dead serious. I'm resigning, and this is who you're going to hire. And
Wow.
he was like, what do you mean? And I was like, because I've been training her like this this whole time. Like she is my assistant, but
Yes.
she's also watched what I've done, and she's had input into the decisions that have been made. So she knows what to do because she's had input into decisions that have been made. So she's heard the conversation, she knows the drill, and she's had input. Like she has thoughts on what things she wants to do. You need to have conversation. Like 6 months before I left, you need to have conversations with her.
Wow.
Seriously, you need to get to know her. Like, no, can I invite her to our leadership meetings? Like, this is me. Can I start inviting her to the leadership meetings? And he was like, oh no, you're serious. Yes, I am serious. She is who you should hire. Seriously.
Wow. So you took the initiative and you knew what was needed right there. And I think that's a prime example of what educators can do. Like you can take life in of your own narrative because that's what you did.
Yeah, and true T, she's still there, and the team has grown. It is
Mhm.
so I look at it now and I'm just like so proud. I'm like a proud mama because
Ah,
I look at the team and I'm just like, oh my God, it's so much. I'm like, it's so much better. And she was just like, she's like, you're not like jealous or like, I'm like, why would I be jealous? I'm like, I'm so proud of you. I'm like, it's like you took what what we did together. We built the foundation and you have rocked this thing out. Girl, do this thing. It's like, so
yeah,
I said, what I hope is that you have an assistant, somebody that you are now grooming like we
mhm.
did, that you are bringing along so that when it's time for you to step aside,
You
that
have that
you
person.
you can hand it off to someone and leave it in good stead.
Yes, yes. And that's how we should with anything that we have in life. Like what we were chatting about before kind of we started is that there is enough room, there's enough success to go around and you can always have that protege.
Yep.
Um that's there for them.
Yes. So I know you have your own company. So tell us the name, what it's about, how it got started. You're doing your thing.
Yes. Yeah, so and it's really now of just more just honestly just before I got into this role it was more of where I did consultant. Now my purpose is to because I realized that I was just so fortunate to be able to kind of move into the paths of my roles that I did.
Mhm.
And I know other educators are so, excited or wanting to do that. They're wanting to think about like their next step. And so, Ask a Techno Girl was really, really thought of by some of my students a long time ago. Because the reason why is because they would call me the tech girl when teachers would like come to the class and say, "Hey, at the time my name is Miss Lane. Hey, can Miss Lane, come here for a second. I need her to show me something. I can't send this attachment. I can't figure out how to, create this slide deck, on Google or whatever the case may be." And so, in my students, I think in a graphic design class, they created, a Ask a Techno Girl logo. And so this is a long time ago, literally like 15, 16 years ago, where they created this little person with these headphones. And so it has evolved. It has how I've evolved throughout the years. And so now it's just more of just coaching educators, if they have questions. I created that guide, educator elevation, just so because educators, I didn't know at the time to create a LinkedIn.
Mhm.
I didn't know that I could go to networking events, although it might have said for corporate. I didn't know that I could go to those events as well and, just try to network, whatever the case may be. It could have meant, even bringing someone to my classroom that was an entrepreneur that, if I'm doing a particular topic, whatever the case may be, at the time I didn't know that. So my, purpose now is to guide and just, be that kind of uh I guess like a little person in your head saying, "Hey, you can do it." To be honest,
Yeah.
but before then, I did a lot of consulting. Before I got into this role, because I don't do any of that anymore. But I did a lot of consultants with school districts and things like that. But I don't do that anymore. My purpose now is just kind of evolved into just helping the educator and kind of figure out what you want to do, whether it's leveling up in education or moving outside of education. It's just kind of up to you.
Love it. Love it. Okay, so if people are looking for you and they are going to be looking for you, where where can they find you?
Yeah, you can always find me on anything on I was about to say Twitter, but on X, formerly known as Twitter, it's Ask a Techno Girl. So it's AskATechno girl. So Ask a Techno Girl on X, formerly known as Twitter, on Instagram, Ask a Techno Girl, and then LinkedIn. You can just find me under my name. And then my website is www.askatechnogirl.com. So anything that's Ask a Techno Girl, you can find me on any social media platforms. I don't have a TikTok under Ask a Techno Girl. TikTok kind of came about before my time in terms of that, but I will be creating one. So
I was gonna say, girl, you
I know, I
gotta
know,
get on the
I know,
TikTok, like the old people
I know,
say.
I know. We're in the
Gotta get
TikTok
on the
era.
TikTok.
Yeah, we're in the TikTok era, and there's a lot of educators that create amazing TikToks, actually.
They
Um,
do. They
yeah,
are. They are on there.
yes, they are.
Okay. All right. So guess what, you guys? All of her social media handles will be in the show notes. So you have to check the show notes. Um,
Yes.
so I will repeat, and her website will be in the show notes. So you have to check the show notes. Mhm.
Thank you, educator. Anderson, thank you. Thank you for
That is
reiterating.
that is correct. You have to check the show notes. All right. So I have one last question for you.
Yes.
And this is the question that we ask every single guest on every single show.
Mhm.
And it is, if you could travel back through time and talk to your younger self, what
Mm.
advice would you give her and why?
So stop worrying.
Mm,
I spent a lot of time worrying what other people thought.
mm,
B, how just I did not live in that moment. I lived as if, how do I function in the future, which I should have lived in that particular moment because it passes you by.
yeah.
And you don't realize it until you have regrets afterwards. But like we said before, everything that happens for a reason. But one thing that I always just remembered is just not to worry, live in the moment and cherish those moments at that particular time as to how they are, and learn the lesson. Like sometimes we don't learn the lessons until afterwards. We don't realize that they're lessons. And we keep, like my mom used to say, you keep bumping your head. I'm from Mississippi. So you keep bumping your head, you keep bumping your head. And so I think if I learned those lessons, it would have been a little bit easier.
Mm, felt that one. Yeah.
Mhm.
I felt that one. That's learn the lessons. That one,
Mhm.
sometimes that one, that's the hard ones.
And acknowledge them. Sometimes we don't acknowledge them either. So sorry. You hear my dog.
All right, y'all. That concludes today's episodes of Stimming in Stilettos with Dr. Tasha. I of course bring you great guests, and today is no different. Thank you, Kim, for just agreeing to be on the show. Loved you.
Yes, thank you. This is amazing. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. And everyone out there, you are great and you are worthy.
Oof, love that. All right, you guys, as we end today's episode, as I end every show, you guys keep yourselves safe.